Welcome to Fox 54 News at 6. I'm Kenesha Dees. Student-led walkouts could be taking place in Madison Wednesday to protest ICE and federal immigration enforcement. But the city school board is already saying to parents the walkout won't be allowed. Last night, Madison City Schools sent this letter that you see on your screen to parents of students at James Clemens and Bob Jones High Schools, where the protests are expected to take place. And that's prompted an uproar on social media. Fox 54's Caleb Aguayo shows us the situation.
Madison City Schools sent a letter to parents letting them know any rumored walkouts related to immigration enforcement would disrupt classes and create an unsafe environment for everyone on campus. As a result, they say any participation may result in what they call disciplinary consequences. They started the letter by saying, quote, "Madison City Schools respects all students' rights to express themselves under the First Amendment. However, a student walkout during the school day is not permitted."
After Madison City Schools sent the letter to parents, some of them took to social media to voice their concerns. One camp says students should have the right to protest without fear of retaliation, and others are calling for some consequences.
Those in support of the protests say the First Amendment applies to everyone, even to children in public schools. While some comments argue teachers should be fired for participating, adding that students who are involved should fail their classes. But one parent says the consequences don't matter when it comes to students speaking out.
I do fear that the schools will retaliate, but ultimately, one day of school, walking out, or a few hours in the long run of showing your voice and showing your opinion and your statement on what's going on is far more important than, maybe getting detention or getting an unexcused absence. I think that these things have a bigger impact in the long run than, an absence would.
A local attorney specializing in First Amendment rights tells Fox 54 it's up to a federal judge to decide what disrupting classes really looks like.
When state officials, governmental officials, teachers, administrators decide to step on those or stop them, then they are risking being hauled into federal court to answer for those under a civil rights action.
In Madison, I'm Caleb Aguayo, Fox 54 News.
And again, Caleb, we know that protests on Wednesday are scheduled during lunch hour for both schools, but I think it's still unclear whether students will leave school to participate.
Yes, that's exactly right. Because of, I guess, the threat of some retaliation, I definitely, if I were in school, I'd be a little fearful of wanting to go out and protest. But I mean, some of the people that I talked to did say that they would anyway, that they're passionate about the cause and they think it's important to get your word out, even if there's some consequences like, say, in-school suspension, detention, missed electives, things like that.
Yes, and with the school board putting out the information about potential repercussions, did you get any feel that there was an infringement on First Amendment rights or?
No, because they did cite disruption to classes. Now that's one of the stipulations to going out and protesting is it can disrupt classes or school activities really. And as long as you cite that, I think you're okay, but I mean, I'm no lawyer or anything like that, but the lawyer I did speak with was telling me that if you're going to go protest and if the school is going to stymie that or stop that in any way, they should be prepared to have some kind of legal action.
Interesting. Well, we'll certainly keep our eyes peeled for what happens in a couple days. Thank you as always, Caleb.
Yeah, thank you.
Fox 54's Caleb Aguayo, you all. All right, let's take a look at weather. This is we'll stay in Madison, what it looked like earlier today. Pretty blue. Not too chilly. I can appreciate, I mentioned it before, the 40-degree weather. The sky is clear and it was just a little bit warmer than we're used to what we've seen these past 2 weeks. Joined now by Fox 54 Weather Impact Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Jordan, after a long cold stretch and some severe winter weather last month, we finally felt warmer temps across the Tennessee Valley. How long will that stay?
Yeah, we finally had a really nice, just simply perfect afternoon across the area. And unfortunately, it's not going to stick around too much longer. As a matter of fact, it's going to come to a halt even as we head into your Tuesday. So I really hope you were able to spend a little bit of time outside, maybe give the heater a little bit of a break today. Maybe it just stopped running for a couple of hours. Maybe it's even not running this evening. Temperatures currently sitting in the 40s, 45 degrees, both Pulaski and Fayetteville. Florence sitting at 48, Scottsboro sitting at 44. Coleman, good evening. You currently find yourselves sitting at 46 degrees. Over the next couple of hours, of course, temperatures are gradually going to begin to fall off. 41 at 7, 37 at 8, 36 by 9, 35 degrees by the time we get to 10 p.m. But at the same time, we're also going to begin to notice an increase in cloud cover. So that's going to keep us somewhat warmer as we head into the overnight. Still going to be cold, but not as cold as we have been the last several nights. As we head into your Tuesday, we're going to be focused on an area of low pressure and a cold front associated with that area of low pressure that is currently sitting back off to the west. Not only is it going to bring us rain as we head into the Tuesday afternoon time frame, it's also going to bring some cooler air as we head into the middle part of the work week. We'll discuss that in great detail here in just a couple of minutes.
Tonight, we've learned the West Lauderdale County Water and Fire Protection Authority has started refilling its water system after nearly a week of outages. Officials say valve testing and tank refills are underway, a careful process designed to prevent new damage from ice in the lines. Some customers along main feeder lines may see water service return this afternoon, though service could be intermittent. A boil water advisory remains in effect, and full restoration will depend on water quality testing by the Alabama Department of Environmental Management. Nearly 1,500 customers have been without water since last week's storm. FEMA announced it will give more than $11 million in emergency funds to Tennessee, Mississippi, and Louisiana for disaster relief after last month's winter storm. President Trump approved an emergency declaration which unlocked FEMA's logistical resources for immediate life-saving actions. Mississippi and Tennessee will each receive nearly $4 million in relief funds. FEMA says the funds can be used for generators, emergency shelters, debris removal, and emergency crews. The Morgan County Sheriff's Office responded to a shooting in Somerville this afternoon, authorities say. Deputies with the Sheriff's Office say they assisted a state trooper who reported shots fired at a home in the 200 block of Shagbark Trail around 4:30 p.m. Officials say the Sheriff's Office SWAT team are at the home and that you should avoid the area. 3 additional charges have been filed against Cameron White, the former Trinity Methodist Church daycare worker accused of child sex abuse. White now faces 5 counts of fondling children under the age of 12 during his time at the church's daycare. Huntsville police say the new charges come after they found additional evidence during their investigation. A preliminary hearing on the original charges is scheduled for Wednesday, and a felony examination for the new charges is set for February 18th. White is still held at the Madison County Jail, with bail now set at $250,000. 2 teens reported missing last night have been found safe, according to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. 15-year-old Nevaeh and 17-year-old Jada Colon were last seen in Savannah, Tennessee, Saturday. Aaliyah issued an endangered child alert last night when it was believed the girls may be in North Alabama. And according to Aaliyah, both girls were found safe in Pennsylvania. A proposed 158-home development will be the focus of a town hall meeting tomorrow in Tony. County Commissioner Phil Vandiver, Commissioner Mac McCutcheon, and County Engineer Chuck Faulkner all expected to attend. This meeting will allow residents to voice their concerns and discuss the potential impact the subdivision could have on surrounding communities. The meeting is scheduled for 6 p.m. at Shady Grove Community Church. The Alabama Republican Party has cleared former state party chair John Wall and Senator Tommy Tuberville to remain on the ballot for governor and lieutenant governor. Both faced residency challenges, Tuberville over whether he meets the state's 7-year requirement for governor, and Wall over his ties to Tennessee. The GOP committee unanimously ruled in their favor, allowing them to continue their campaigns. Now that the decision is finalized, the committee will submit its official candidate list to Secretary of State Wes Allen by February 26th. A new report shows Alabama's population growth is slowing due to anti-immigration policies. According to the Public Affairs Research Council of Alabama, the state's population increased by 1% last year. Migration peaked in 2023, but declined last year. Immigration dropped by nearly 60% from 2024 to 2025. Researchers say federal immigration policies under the Trump administration are a major reason for the slowdown. The U.S. government begins a new week still in a partial shutdown. The Senate reached an agreement on a funding bill hours before last Friday's deadline, but it isn't official until the House votes tomorrow. Senator Tommy Tuberville, a major critic of the funding bill, voted with Democrats against an early version of the bill, but he later rejoined the GOP in supporting the bill, saying he would vote against any reforms keeping ICE agents from doing their job. The legislation would fund the government agencies through the years, but the Department of Homeland Security would only be funded for 2 weeks while lawmakers work on immigration reforms. This partial shutdown is expected to continue until at least tomorrow. The Department of Transportation has released a new shutdown plan for airlines. The plan involves the furlough of more than 10,000 FAA workers. Another 14,000 air traffic controllers will not receive pay during the partial shutdown. Last year's shutdown put a heavy strain on U.S. aviation. Thousands of flights were canceled, and at one point, flights at 40 airports throughout the U.S. were reduced by 6%. Let's hope that won't be necessary this time around. A special salute for a veteran who has gone but never forgotten. We'll take you to Franklin County. Preps underway at the Space Coast before the big launch of Artemis II and the mission to the moon. A mission the Rocket City was a big part of. We'll take you to Florida. Decatur City Council is discussing a proposed ordinance that could change how short-term rentals operate in the city. The plan would add fees, inspections, and limits aimed at balancing property rights with neighborhood concerns. The proposal would limit short-term rentals to no more than 3 within 1,000 feet of each other in residential areas. It would also require local contact to respond to complaints within 30 minutes and allow the city to revoke permits after repeated violations. Fox 54's Valentina Chalala explains.
Decatur City Council says the goal is to allow short-term rentals to continue while adding oversight to address safety, parking, and neighborhood quality of life concerns. The ordinance being discussed at tonight's City Council meeting would require all short-term rental operators to obtain an annual certificate from the city, costing $500 total, and pass inspections by both a building inspector and the fire marshal before operating.
I'm all about, if you're going to have an ordinance, you need to be able to enforce it. And what we will do is have a company that's outsourced that will be looking at advertisements for short-term rentals for the city of Decatur, and then they're going to be matching them up to see, do they have a certificate, is it legal, and if not, they're going to turn it over to the planning department for enforcement.
If approved, the ordinance would cap the total number of short-term rentals citywide, limit density in residential areas, and include fines for violations after a 90-day grace period.
One of the things that citizens are concerned about is residential areas not keeping their neighborhoods, and they're concerned about having too many short-term rentals in one area.
The proposal also creates 2 categories of rentals: homestays, where owners remain on site, and tourist homes, each with specific requirements and occupancy limits. In Decatur, I'm Valentina Chalala, Fox 54 News.
Council members say they want to ensure short-term rentals support tourism without disrupting neighborhoods. We'll have more for you after the vote tonight on Fox 54 News at 9. Preps underway at the Space Coast before the big launch of Artemis II and the mission to the moon. Mission the Rocket City a big part of. We'll take you to Florida. And while our eyes on the sky, Jordan, do we have more sunny weather in store?
I wish we were talking about more sunny weather. It really was a beautiful Monday with temperatures in the mid-50s, but it's all going to come to an end as we head into your Tuesday. We'll discuss it in just a minute.
NASA's getting ready to launch the Artemis 2 rocket into space with 4 astronauts on board. Today, a crucial dress rehearsal got underway at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. This test involves filling up the rocket's tanks with more than 700,000 pounds of propellant. The initial plan was to launch the Artemis rocket later this week, but that will now be pushed back until engineers can review the results of the dress rehearsal. Once the mission gets underway, the astronauts will orbit the moon in the Orion spacecraft. This will be the first manned mission to the moon in more than 50 years. Today, John Weidman was given one final send-off in Russellville, and while you might not know his name, his brothers and sisters in the armed services made sure he wasn't forgotten. Weidman passed away in Russellville last month without any family in the area, but officials and vets in Franklin County spread the word so the community could honor the former staff sergeant. For local VFW Commander Randy Mansell, this turnout was a reminder that service members are never alone.
We're never alone. We're a brotherhood and sisterhood of veterans, and to just be able to come together and honor this, the life of this veteran who retired from the Army, did over 30 years in the Army. It's just an honor to be able to do, and just to send off his legacy and honoring his life.
A very, very special salute. Well, Weidman's remains will soon be headed to Pensacola, where they will be spread near a lighthouse.
Now, the Tennessee Valley's certified most accurate forecast from the FOX54 Weather Impact Team.
And we'll stay in Russellville. Beautiful sky above, warmer temps, of course, than what we've experienced, but I'm going to hold on to it while I can, Jordan.
And you should, because it's all about to come to a grinding halt.
Oh, gosh.
Not all at the same time.
Okay.
Okay. Like tomorrow, for example, we're going to lose the sunshine. Okay. Then by Wednesday, we're going to lose the warmth. So we're kind of easing back in to whatever is coming next. The not good, and that's what we're going to call it, the not good.
I guess that's fair to ease us back instead of just like a weather whiplash.
I mean, it's very nice. It is very nice that we are taking that path this time around, and because we have been doing a lot of whiplashing over the last couple of weeks, and honestly, I have never in my life, I think, been more excited for the spring season to come about than I have over the last couple of weeks. Radar looks nice and quiet this evening. Why are we starting with the radar? Because it's the thing that's going to change first. As we head into your Tuesday, we're going to begin to see some rain develop across the Tennessee Valley, all thanks to an area of low pressure that currently has itself parked over the state of Oklahoma. There is a cold front associated with that area of low pressure, and yes, that cold front is also going to push its way through the Tennessee Valley. We're not going to see rain right away. I think the Tuesday morning commute is going to be just fine. A noted increase in the amount of cloud cover, but I think the Tuesday morning commute is going to be just fine. By the time we get to the afternoon, however, first across northwest Alabama, Lauderdale, Colbert, and Franklin counties, we're going to begin to see some rain. Not talking about much in the way of any sort of thunderstorm activity, but once we get to the heart of the afternoon, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the evening, we are going to begin to see some pockets of heavier rain, some heavier downpours, and that activity could stick with us and is likely going to stick with us as we head into the Tuesday evening commute. So while the Tuesday morning commute is going to be without issues, the Tuesday evening commute is definitely going to be slower. So you're going to want to plan now to allow yourself several extra minutes as you head home from work tomorrow evening. A lot of this activity is going to begin to taper off as we head into the overnight, but a couple of light showers might be with us through the overnight and then through the earliest hours of your Wednesday morning. However, by the time we get to the Wednesday morning commute, it does look like we are going to be dry, though we're going to maintain a mostly cloudy sky through Wednesday afternoon. By the time we get to Thursday, the sunshine will build back into the area. Most of us are looking at anywhere between a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of additional rainfall by the time we get to the lunch hour on Wednesday. Not the most impressive rain in the world, but it's good rain to get in the early days of February. Otherwise, it does look like we are going to be dry Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Small opportunity for rain builds into the Tennessee Valley. And by the time we get to Monday of next week, it really was a fantastic afternoon. Athens and Decatur both saw 54. We saw 56 today in Moulton. Even over in northeast Alabama, a really beautiful day. 51 in Scottsboro. We saw 51 in Fort Payne. 50 degrees for Fayetteville. Up in southern Middle Tennessee. Temperatures currently sitting in the 40s this evening, lower 40s to the north, mid and upper 40s basically everywhere else. We drop into the lower 30s as we head into the overnight. Not as cold tonight as we have been over the last several nights, but it is still going to be cold and quiet, though the noted increase in the amount of cloud cover. Again, the Tuesday morning commute going to be without issues, 37 at 8, 41 by 9, 45 degrees by the time we get to 10 a.m. From there, we'll see temperatures climb into the lower 50s tomorrow afternoon. So at least while we're going to be talking about the rain, it's not going to be a cold rain. The colder air builds in on the backside of the cold front by the time we get to your Wednesday. I've only got a high temperature right around 41 degrees, 40 on Thursday, but then we kind of rebound as we head into your Friday, 57 degrees, plenty of sunshine. The end of the week is really going to be quite nice. 52 on Saturday, 55 on Sunday. More cloud cover begins to build in on Sunday. That cloud cover really builds in with our next chance of rain next Monday, where I've got a high temperature right around 53.
And while we talk all things weather, we've seen plenty of winter weather across the country in the past couple weeks, but today brought hope for an early spring. In Pennsylvania, Puxatawny Phil saw his shadow at dawn. You could see them cheering, signaling 6 more weeks of winter. But back here in Huntsville, the forecast looks brighter. At Huntsville Animal Services, Cosmo the dog predicted an early spring after choosing the treat bowl marked for warmer weather. Well, hey, you can watch the full video of Cosmo, the dog, deciding her seasonal fate right here on demand on Fox 54 Plus. Download on your TV, watch for free.
A longtime SEC football coach with strong ties to Auburn is calling it a career. I'm Mo Carter. I've got the latest next in sports.
Fox 54 Sports is sponsored by Alpha Insurance.
And good evening, everyone. Big news from the college football world. Gus Malzahn is hanging up his whistle and calling it a career. Malzahn spending time on the plains of Auburn on 2 different occasions. The first was as an offensive coordinator from 2009 to 2011. With Cam Newton at the quarterback spot, the Tigers' offense was one of the best in the nation. They won the SEC title and the BCS National Championship in 2010. Malzahn returned as the head coach of Auburn in 2013. During that stretch, he led the program to a 68-35 record, 2 SEC championship game appearances, 1 SEC football championship, and 1 national championship game appearance. Malzahn later was the head coach of UCF and spent time last season as the OC at Florida State. UNA unveiled their 2026 football schedule today. The 2026 season begins right here in the city of Huntsville at Joe Davis Stadium on August the 29th in a game against Sanford. The Lions will hit the road to take on Arkansas and Southeastern Louisiana after that before opening up the brand new Bank Independent Stadium on Saturday, September the 19th against Alcorn State. You can see the full schedule on the sports page of Fox54.com. Sticking with football, it's Super Bowl week on the West Coast. The Patriots and the Seahawks arriving in San Jose on Sunday ahead of Super Bowl 60. The Patriots landed around 4 p.m. and were bused to their hotel in Santa Clara, marking their 12th Super Bowl appearance. And about 90 minutes later, the Seahawks arrived and headed downtown. We'll have more from both teams this week as they get ready for the big game, which kicks off this Sunday at 5:30 in Santa Clara, California. That does it for sports. I'm Mo Carter.
Coming up on Fox 54 News at 9, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth visited Cape Canaveral for today's Artemis II wet dress rehearsal. A look at who he met with and why. Later, Fox 54's Valentina Chalala takes us to Decatur, where city leaders are weighing new rules for short-term rentals tonight. We hear more from her on what this entails. And FEMA is sending more than $11 million in storm and recovery to Mississippi, Tennessee, and Louisiana. But tens of thousands in Nashville still without power. We'll have more on this coming up tonight at 9. Well, Cupid's special day is just 12 days away, and if you're still debating where to take your special someone, how about adding Waffle House to your list of choices? For its annual special, the restaurant chain is rolling out tablecloths, candles, mood lighting, and a special menu for anyone wanting to celebrate this special day at the one and only Waffle House. You can go on their website to see all participating locations and make reservations. You're just bursting to say something.
I was just going to say that at one point, one of the Waffle Houses in South Huntsville used to do this. They actually were one of the participating locations, and they went all out. The waiters wore like a tux, which I thought was